So during this session we are going to be focusing on how to link text boxes over spreads and beyond. So we are first of all going to set up this document so it has facing pages. As mentioned in earlier tutorials, I'm now going to evolve this double-sided leaflet into being more of a brochure to do with this exhibition. So the first thing I'm going to do, and we've covered this in previous tutorials, is go up and find the Pages window. We can see all the pages stacked on top of each other, and that is because Facing Pages is deselected. Now let's go up to File and down to Document Setup, and here you will see the option to click on Facing Pages, and straight away you can see we have spreads, much as you'd have in a magazine or brochure. Now, the text file that I have flowed into this area here is far too long to fit in that small text frame that we have here. So I'm going to create a new one and I'm going to flow the text from one frame to the next. So let's have a look a little bit closer and see what's been happening behind the scenes. This icon here is a bit of a red flag in InDesign. It indicates there is more text that hasn't been revealed. It's called overset, and in fact if I was to try and go to print at this stage, it's so serious that InDesign will flag up a warning. So try not to create any documents that have this feature left on, because you can have a challenge later on when you find something's gone to print and there could have been some legal text or some really important terms and conditions that were hidden and not actually revealed in the text box. So you can see as I drag this down, there is more text there. So first of all, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to load up my cursor. So let's have a little look as I zoom in. I click once on the overset button and you can see there we now have the icon is changed to an outport, and I can now click and drag to create an area where my text is now going to flow to, and we know how to create columns. And I can take it on to the next spread. Let's imagine perhaps there is an advert on this page 4, and so we now want to take the text across to page 5, in effect skipping out page 4. So again I'm loading it up, dragging it out, and there you can see pages. And in fact if I was to look a little bit closer, I can see the red overset button has now disappeared in favour of a blank port button there, because basically there's no more text to be seen. So how do we go through unthreading this text? Now, something I'd like you to try and practice is to see how these threads are being displayed. If you go up to View and down to Extras and across to either Hide or Show Text Threads, that's how you toddle on that preview. So Extras, Show Text Threads, that's how you can see where your text is flowing through your document. Go back into this first text box. What you need to do, I recommend that you zoom in really close into your screen and you've got to click right on that area there. As soon as I've done that, the text runs back into this next text block. You can see again the overset button. And again, zoom in and carefully click on this area here. Otherwise, you might find you create more text boxes by accident. And there we go. So we now have all of our text has run back into the original box, all ready to start flowing it into new areas all over again. So that's it. That is how to thread text in order to link text boxes. I'm now going to look at some other features that are unrelated to this, just to give you an overview on InDesign's other features. So firstly, I may want to add a bit of an appealing drop cap here, which will give the viewer a signpost as to where to start reading my article. First of all, I'm going to mark it over, and then I'm going to come over to this area here, where I can select how many lines of copy that character drops down. So you can see that is where I'm working over here. And once you've done that, you can then choose a different font if that is part of. And that is how to create a drop cap. A few other things you might see on my screen. I've got rulers at the top and down the side. That was found in View, either Hide Rulers or View Show Rulers. And in fact, these rulers will allow you to drag down guides. And these guides are excellent for lining things up. The middle of that ruler to drag out the guide. Okay, now these don't print. As I hit W on my keyboard, I can preview what it's going to look like when it goes to print, and you can see all of those guides have disappeared. The column guides, the guides I brought in from the rulers, etc. Now, I'd also like to draw your attention to this area up here. This is where you can move the rulers, they're called crosshairs, in order to measure elements on your page. And to do that, you need to click right up in the corner, and as I drag this crosshair along, you can see how the rulers move. Okay, if you hold down Command, that will bring you guides in at the same time. You can see I've now got two guides, both a vertical and a horizontal guide. So if I wanted to measure this box, for example, I could simply drag the crosshairs to the beginning of the box and then have a look up and see that's about 58 millimeters. The last thing that I want to show you on this tutorial is how to remove these unsightly hyphens at the end of the lines. You can see, unfortunately, InDesign puts this on as a default. There we go, you just see there. But it's very easy to rectify if you mark over the copy that you want to work with and simply deselect hyphenate over here. And straight away the hyphenation will disappear at the end of the lines. And that's good practice unless you want to go into more advanced setting with hyphenation. At this stage, at the beginner stage, I would suggest you just turn that off. Okay, that concludes session 13. Thank you for joining me.